to Research Talk. I hope you all are doing well and ready for another exciting video on data analysis in qualitative research. In our previous videos, we were covering some affective methods of coding, which included emotion coding, value coding. Today we will cover another coding method which comes under affective, and it's called versus coding. So when we think about human experience, a very common experience that we all go through is the experience of conflict. It might happen in our relationships or in our day-to-day life, work life, personal life, professional life, or in our broader interaction with people in society. And when you think about conflict, conflict could be maybe internal conflict or external conflict. Internal conflict meaning that I have a sort of dilemma in my own decisions to make. External could be choosing between two objects and I'm confused or I'm struggling with two things. So let's say an example of external can be said in terms of political discourse, Republican versus Democrats. So for a discourse, if I'm having a discourse with my friends or with other people, and let's say we are discussing, people might talk about this conflict, this idea. Under internal, it could be something such as, let's say, a common thing that I have observed as a mental health professional is people sometimes have these conflicting thoughts about seeking mental health versus social stigma. So if I'm struggling mentally, I want to seek mental health. I want to approach a counselor, a psychiatrist, social worker. But at the same time, I'm also worried about what will people think if they come to know. So there is social stigma attached to seeking mental health. So this is a conflict between social stigma and well-being, personal well-being. So in our day-to-day life, we have such experiences. So the versus coding is a method to capture those experiences that as a researcher we try to understand. So if I'm doing an observation or if I'm doing an interview and I have those data, so when I'm coding those data set, versus coding helps me understand these internal as well as external conflict. And that's why versus coding is also known with some other names. So we call it, some scholars call it conflict coding, paradoxical experiences coding, duality coding, dilemma coding as well. And all these words, as you could see, refer to the same phenomenon, the experience of conflict, whether internal or external. So versus coding, we divide, so this coding is focused on capturing, understanding, analyzing these experiences by coding them. And generally, how you code it. So basically you put a sign versus between these, two experiences, two desires, between two different experiences, and you show the conflict. That's how you code your data in the transcript. To explain it further, let me show you, let me demonstrate an example of a transcript, and I will code that and you'll see how it looks like in practice. So on my screen, you could see this is a transcript, and this transcript is about experiences of seeking therapy for anxiety. And you could see this interview here, and we will code this using versus coding method. So let's start. So first of all, I will create some margins on the right side so that I could put my quotes there. So I selected the transcript, and then I go to margins, and I go to custom margins, and then on this one right I will create maybe 2.78 inches, and you could see now that we have created some space on the right side for our coding. Let me add a text box here. All right, so we got our text box here, and let's start coding. So the first thing about interviewer, we do not code interviewer excerpt, but so basically it talks about thank you for being here. Let's start by talking about how you have been managing your anxiety lately. Can you share a bit about that? And now this pseudonym, which is Alex, is sharing. Sure, it's been a bit of a roller coaster, honestly. Some days I feel like I have a good handle on it with my own routines like meditation, exercise, and journaling. But there are moments when it all feels overwhelming, and I wonder if I am doing enough. So we can quote this excerpt where this person is saying that some days are really good. I feel like I'm very self-reliant. I'm doing everything good. And then on some days when he's feeling overwhelmed and he's wondering if he's doing enough. So there is some doubts about whether he is doing enough. So sort of a conflict you could see he's sharing. So I can code this excerpt as self-reliance versus seeking help. So that I think captures what is being shared here by the client. Now let's move to the next. Now the interviewer is responding. It sounds like you have put a lot of effort into developing personal coping strategies. Have you ever considered seeking professional therapy to help manage your anxiety? And now Alex is responding to this question saying, I have thought about it a lot, actually. There's this part of me that feels like seeking therapy is admitting I cannot handle my problems on my own. And then there is this stigma around therapy in my family and social circles. It's like you are labeled as someone who is not strong enough if you cannot manage by yourself. So, what do you think? How we can capture this dilemma this participant is experiencing? So, on the one hand, he is talking about uh, his personal well being and how he is a little careful seeking help because he might be socially stigmatized and labeled. So, this can be coded as social stigma versus personal well being. So, that versus code captures this conflict that he is experiencing. Let's keep moving. Now, the interviewer is responding. It seems like you are caught between the benefits therapy could offer and how it is perceived by others. How do you feel about that? Conflicted, to say the least. I read about how therapy has helped others, and deep down, I believe it could help me too. But then I think about having to explain it to my friends or family, and I freeze up. It's like I'm fighting this battle on two fronts: what I think is best for me and what others expect of me. So, similar idea. I think he is continuing with the same conflict that he referred to in the previous excerpt. And we can frame it like there is this that external expectation of like what the society and other people, and the internal needs that he needs support. So we can put this as external expectation versus internal needs. So external expectation is again capturing the idea that he will have to explain it to friends, family, and that comes with social stigma. And then internal needs, meaning that he needs help, he believes that therapy works and he needs help for that. So we can keep going, but I will pause here. I think I have demonstrated what I mean when I say that versus coding is about capturing people's experiences related to conflicts, dilemma, uh, some paradoxical things that we all experience in our day-to-day life. So I hope this demonstration has helped you to understand what a versus coding is. And as I said, versus coding is a supplemental coding. So it's not like you only code when you are coding a transcript, you are only looking for these conflicts. It's an additional tool that you have wherever you see a conflict within participant or between participants, you highlight that by using versus coding. Thank you very much, and I'll see you again with another strategy for data analysis and qualitative research.